Welcome to Tone Talks. Welcome to Tone Talks.
Ain't nobody else in America telling you about this gambling in Black America but me, and then everybody gonna act like they understood when they fuck your kids up. I'm just gonna let this shit go because you part of the problem. You watch this junk with this prize picks at the bottom. You better start figuring this out. Before I get going, you know, the boomers, they didn't do enough politics in terms of immigration, failed us in terms of not creating ADOS. We might be too far along. But what y'all doing is y'all failing because y'all are in love with idols, celebrity idolization. And basically now y'all leaving y'all kids a bunch of Uber and Klarna and Prize Picks and DraftKings and not saying nothing and think your kid's gonna be successful. And then when they're in your house, when they like 35 and they got gambling problems, you gonna act like it's their fault when it's your goddamn fault. I want to talk today. I wouldn't even watch this goddamn show. Shannon Sharpe has DraftKings, so him too. And Stephen A got the what do you got? The ESPN bets. Everybody got this gambling. Well, at least it let us finally see the decadent veil for what it is. Trash. Have y'all noticed that on the YouTube space, there's been a whole slew of new faces that have come in here, and basically they all selling the gambling as part of their promo. It'll be presented by DraftKings or Prize Picks. Y'all think that's on accident, and you watching with your kids in the background, especially if you got kids, especially if you got sons. We're gonna get into the gambling again. I'm coming back to it because everybody's gonna act. I'm gonna tell you how this is gonna go. It's kind of like how ADOS is. Everybody understands now ADOS, but before when we were talking about it, it was only me and Yvette that understood. Everybody else was Pan-Africanist. Everybody's gonna sell you and then act like they wasn't part of selling you it, and they didn't understand or they didn't know when all the black men are like crack addicts on the gambling. And some of the black women, and you should hold them up accountable. You really should be holding them accountable today in their chats. You shouldn't be watching the shows. You really should be picketing out front of where they peaceably, but picketing out front of where they actually shoot these goddamn shows. But you're not, and your kids will deal with the consequence. How's everybody doing today? This is Tone Talks, Antonio Moore. I'm here to have a discussion about Gamblepocalypse. I believe that right now, we're on the precipice, if not starting the beginning of a gambling collapse that will hit Black America. And it's gambling, but it's also attached to exploitations that were illegal before our lifetime, from layaway and Klarna to the gambling. And we're going to go through everything to Uber and how we don't have labor protections that came about under Obama. There was no Uber before Obama, came about 2 months after he was sworn in. I don't know, meaning Uber and the rise of the gig economy, because it wasn't allowed before Obama. I don't know if everybody understands that has children that are watching right now that you are failing them by not picketing all of this that's going on. You don't get the luxury to sit around like your parents, because the laws did the work for your parents, meaning they had laws before Jimmy Carter against usury laws, Klarna. They had laws before 2018 against sports gambling, Supreme Court. They had laws before Obama against gig jobs. Well, you don't have those laws, so you got to do some work. Or you just watch your kids struggle, because it'll get really bad. I'm guaranteeing you. Just like I did the rise of legacy, I'm guarantee you that it will get really bad for your children, particularly your black male children. And you can deal with it today or tomorrow. I'm just going to give you some guideposts, not on how to deal with it. And this is not legal advice in this show, but I am going to confront you with the truth that you need to be dealing with every day. You need to be getting your friends together in community level. You need to be pressing your NAACP. You need to be joining the ADOS Foundation and making them direct things at gambling, because these people are failing you putting this on their shows. And I don't even know if failing you is the right framing. I think they're creating collapse, whether they know it or not. I mean, he ain't even educated, man. How could he know? I think he got a rap song and then he went to a boarding school, and that's it. A high school boarding school. I want to get into it. Please support the channel. Tone Talks, tonetalks.net. Christopher said it might be too late, and I have to agree. I mean, y'all might already be up. You, your kids, your grandkids, because they've already set up like you're that part of the exploitation class. And then you guys basically didn't do enough in terms of anchoring ADOS so that it's the most integral part of how America disseminates benefit and privilege. White folks did for themselves. I want to talk. So what am I talking about today? Because many of you guys are like, what are you talking about? What's wrong with Joe Budden? This shit at the bottom. Prize Picks. Promo code JB. What is Prize Picks? It's gambling. It's fantasy football framed as a game, but it's really gambling. And I'll get to you, and that's in my opinion, but I'll show you in a second how many legal experts have also framed it that way too. Super exciting to play. Prize Picks. But it's not just him. But there's a law firm, when you Google this thing, that's trying to gather a class. Pfeiffer Wolf. We are a nationwide litigation firm that represents individuals and entities. I have no relationship with Pfeiffer Wolf, but I am saying that I'm going to show you their webpage and read it to you, and you can come to your own opinion about it. But Pfeiffer Wolf is representing users who have been the victim of Prize Picks' alleged fraudulent business practice. If you believe you were misled by Prize Picks, I'll read more of it later on in the show. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about this thing that Joe Budden is selling. But it's DraftKings, Prize Picks, ESPN bets. It's all of this. There is an attack on Black America right now, an economic attack. And you think that you're going to have your children here, they're going to be successful, you're not going to give them no money, and you didn't do no politics, and you didn't anchor no ADOS. How'd that work? I'm going to get into it today. 310-388-3499. I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you. And it's not just Joe Budden. It's all of the YouTube. Anytime you watch a YouTube, see if it's presented by gambling. You're going to be surprised. I think a lot of them are. Gilbert Arenas, Gil Arena, the Underdog, Shannon Sharpe with DraftKings. You got Jamie and Kevin Hart selling MGM and DraftKings, I think it is. You got Camron and Mace with Underdog. We're going to talk. And y'all not saying nothing. Giggling and watching this stuff. Sports betting will be a huge industry after Supreme Court ruling, says DraftKings CEO. What is DraftKings? It's another one of the same type of entities. Everyone's trying to get in on this new move that came about after the Supreme Court decision. When the decision was announced in 2018 that the Supreme Court was going to allow this kind of gambling, I told you it's coming. Well, it's not going to come in the form of just like brick and mortars near the liquor store. It's going to be online. And the shows, in my view, are commercials for the gambling. The gambling ain't commercial for the shows. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled states can allow sports betting, which gives fantasy game providers more options to allow gambling. DraftKings said it hopes to let users bet on game outcomes and point totals. Why is sports gambling becoming legal? What year did Supreme Court give some permission for states to gamble? In the 2018 ruling, the justices declared unconstitutional a 1992 federal law that barred 46 states from repealing their then existing bans on sports betting. Now 36 states in D.C. permit bets on the NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA, you name it. And then there's a whole gray area if you call it fantasy football, but it's still gambling, in my view. Prize Picks is here. Should we get to it? I believe we're on the verge of a gamble addiction phase like we've never seen before. Gamblepocalypse is what I'm calling it. I believe that it will affect Black America, and particularly Black males, no different than we saw with the mass incarceration era. I believe that anyone who's selling this on their shows, you shouldn't even watch their show. You should be in their chat demanding, and if you need that kind of picket, do an online picket. Get together with 100 other people, 1,000 other people. Go in the chat and say, we not supporting this until they get rid of the goddamn gambling. You got Joe Budden with Prize Picks. I just showed you that. You got Stephen A. It's right in the back. They just launched this ESPN bet. They getting in on it. So ESPN is trying to, as I understand, maybe put a bid in on ABC or something of the sort. Disney, something's being sold. And then they're trying to, I'm sorry, it's backwards. The NFL is trying to get in on ESPN, and then ESPN has ESPN bets. There's a lot of conflicts of interest. Let me say it again. So the NFL, I think, is trying to possibly put a bid in on ESPN so they would own the network, and then they want to be the gambling house. How you keep this in order where there's not conflicts? You got Diddy selling Uber, but y'all still love these old ass celebrities. You got Klarna. Snoop is the promotional person for Klarna, and then I think he do like Grubhub or DoorDash, one of them. Here you go, right here, Snoop Dogg, and in the Klarna bed with the dogs. Klarna presents Smooth Payment. Smooth Dog. Payment giant Klarna faces scrutiny over buy now, pay later. So there is this webbing of exploitation being built out, and you guys are saying nothing. You doing the same thing, if not worse, than your parents did with ADOS, meaning being American descendant of slavery and not calling yourself flat black. But you gonna have a different problem though. After this show, you won't be able to say you didn't know the same way your parents could. You're gonna have to say I didn't care. You're gonna have to look at your child that's 8, that's 10, that's 15, and when they have that gambling addiction, tell yourself, I didn't care enough to do anything. You ain't got to go to no casino no more. It's on the iPad. That's why they make them cheap. Talk about it. You got Kevin Hart. I did the show with Kevin Hart and Jamie Foxx pushing this because the commercials was everywhere. You think if they using Kevin Hart and Jamie Foxx that they trying to sell it to white folks? Be real. Gambling addiction. They even got a whole section when you look up pictures of black men getting hooked on gambling. I want to talk today, 310-388-3499. If you have went through gambling, I want to hear from you. I know I'm talking about this repetitively because I feel this is the next great problem for this race. The whole web of exploitation, again, from gig jobs introduced by Obama to the Supreme Court allowing this gambling to the lack of usury laws and the layaway. You're going to lay away your kids' tennis shoes, but then try to teach them about financial literacy? The fuck we doing? They just seen you do some dumb shit. What race has the highest gambling rate? Overall, young black males are associated with the highest rates of gambling disorders in the United States. Let's go back to the top. Why do you think they're on this show? This singular edition of Prize Picks alone should be enough to make you never watch his show again and never support anything he does. That's my view. Others can have their own. I don't want to hear later when everybody got the gambling problems that you didn't know or that you didn't think Prize Picks was gambling. Stop it. You don't think that they know that we the most prone to the addiction, and that's why they got all these shows popped up on YouTube that's selling the addiction? Studies have shown that black people with lower general health measures living in disadvantaged neighborhoods with the lowest income tax brackets are the most likely to be affected by gambling. Again, this show is my opinion. You can have your own opinion. I want you to go do your research on Prize Picks, on DraftKings, on all of it, on ESPN bets. But what I will tell you is that at the end of the day, ain't nothing good in gambling, particularly for black folk. This is a hard show because we're going to get personal today. We're going to talk about all this gambling that's going on. Shocking truths about problem gambling that black women need to know, from corner store scratch tickets to casino bus charters, from teen raffles to mobile apps. Temptation is everywhere. Whew. But we got to understand they're framing this as fantasy sports to not deal with the gambling. I want to read some of this to get into the meat and potatoes of this thing, because I need you to understand this, to understand what everything is going on with this little phone, because everybody's going to try to tell you, well, it's just fantasy football. They got that money involved. Spend 50, lose 100, whatever they got going on. Bet $1, win $100. Sports betting or fantasy sports, conflict growing around what's legal where. Underdog fantasy shares, strong words. FanDuel and DraftKings are trying to ensure fantasy sports are limited. I know a lot of you guys don't know that this fight is going on. But this is the framing around this gambling and how they're using gray areas to get into your homes. Robert asked me what's the solution. Stop watching goddamn sports, because this shit's about to be a whole doorway to gambling. You don't want to do that though. It's gonna be. I told you guys that in 2018, you should have weaned yourself off, because it's gonna be a whole doorway to gambling, particularly if you got young babies. Ain't nothing else about it. You better. I mean, either you do the sports and you get with the gambling, or you don't. They had the whole thing going on, and this is different from the gambling, where they, for the first time ever, made us pay for Peacock $5 or something to watch a game. When Stephen A. they said to talk about it, he acted like he didn't want to talk about it. Ain't nothing wrong with that, man. Come on, stop it, bro. It's a lot of poor people out here that don't need to be paying $5 more on top of cable to watch that game, bro. And so maybe it's time to turn the game off all the way together. Talking about, we talking about this. A very similar type of market can be found on popular daily fantasy sports operator Prize Picks. So would that parlay be sports betting or fantasy sports? It depends who you ask. Pick'em style fantasy games available through popular operators like Underdog Fantasy and Prize Picks have customers choose an over or under for various player statistical categories, and players receive a predetermined payout if the pick hits. Some regulators say those games look too much like sports betting, especially as other DFS games have customers playing against peers rather than the house. But DFS operators, including Underdog Fantasy, in a letter to its customers, say they are within the bounds of the law, and that the country's two biggest sports book by market share are using strong arm tactics to keep them down. There's a fight going on. States target fantasy sports operators. Ohio and Maryland are among the states that don't allow pick'em style contests to be viewed as daily fantasy sports, while regulators in Wyoming and Maine recently started looking into the topic and issue warnings to DFS operators, according to the Legal Sports Report. Recently proposed fantasy sports regulations in Michigan include language that would jeopardize the ability of some fantasy operators like Prize Picks, the one that Joe Budden pushes, to offer the option above and to do business in the state. The regulations, which still require approval by the Michigan legislature before they could take effect, would prohibit fantasy sports operators from offering proposition selection or fantasy contests that have the effect of mimicking proposition selection. The proposed rule would prohibit operators from offering any fantasy contests that involve results in or have the effect of mimicking betting on sports. Mimicking betting on sports. Y'all watching these shows and think that it's a giggle because they talk about Umar Johnson or have Cat Williams on. Man, that's for this gambling, bro. They trying to get in your home, in your kids' minds, and in your mind. Fucking Umar Johnson ain't either about this gambling. Underdog Fantasy, which offers similar markets to Prize Picks, hasn't operated in Michigan since 2022. Michigan isn't the first state taking a closer look at how fantasy operators like Prize Picks and Underdog Fantasy operate, and Massachusetts regulators have joined those looking into the topic. I just want to note that we are certainly aware of this issue. Are you aware? As you watch Joe Budden and Shannon Sharpe and Gil's Arena and Stephen A's First Take. I just wanted to note that we are certainly aware of the issue and we're in the process of reviewing it. It's certainly an issue that the commission may need to address directly itself, Todd Grossman, the Massachusetts Gaming Commission's interim executive director, said Tuesday. In New York, the state's gaming commission updated its register last week, shooting down the idea that some pick'em style games are different enough from sports betting to be labeled as internet fantasy sports. So they done said that this is gambling. Let me take the first caller. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello?
What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Lava from Boston. I'm kind of glad you brought this up. Can you hear me, bro?
I'm listening to you, bro. I'm trying to figure out what everybody doing with their kids and their sons and stuff. And I don't think that everybody is doing anything. They think this is a goddamn game. Yeah. It's gonna be all right though.
Well, I learned the hard way, man. I had a temporary job and I was getting paid $8.25 an hour, and I was looking for a way to like get some
Let me ask you a question before you go, man. I appreciate you giving us your heartfelt, because it's kind of hard to call in and give your personal story, especially of any kind of struggle you went through. We are aspirational group, and so I appreciate that. But what I would ask you as you leave, what would you tell people like Joe Budden that are selling this on their shows? This Prize Pick.
Honestly, bro, I would say to people like Joe Budden and Kevin Hart and all these people, Jamie Foxx, you showing that you don't care about the community. You showing you don't care about the less fortunate. You're showing that you just wanna leech and feed off of people who struggling already. And I have no respect for people that like to take advantage of the less fortunate. So that's what I would say, bro. And like I said, I really appreciate you, Dad Ados, and I love it, Ados community and what y'all did and brought to our community. I love y'all, man. Y'all touch my soul, my heart. Y'all motivate me, inspire me. I don't watch sports no more. I don't gamble no more. I'm good with all that. With good time. Thank you, bro.
Man, thank you so much for starting it off. The queue is filling up 310-388-3499. I'm here to give the truth, bro. Y'all can have feelings if you want. I want to finish this article, sports betting or fantasy sports, conflict around what's legal where, because they calling this fantasy sports. That's how they're getting around. Product offering in Alabama has become extremely popular over the past month, and look forward to innovating additional entertaining game types in the future. Mark Edelman, a gaming law expert and professor of law at Baruch College Deakin School of Business, isn't surprised to see state regulators cracking down on fantasy sports operators. My biggest surprise is that it took this long. Edelman said, this really is low-hanging fruit for gaming regulators. So why they ain't been saying that? But then also, why are all of these shows all of a sudden on? Camron show is on, Gilbert Arenas, all the glitz and glamour, all the lights and the cameras. I'm a one-man army, bro. And I'm telling you that I don't understand how y'all don't see that you should be boycotting them goddamn shows until they get rid of the gambling. It's a Gamblepocalypse. And you either deal with it now or you deal with it when your 9-year-old is 23 years old with a gambling addiction problem. And it's your fault. You put it on your damn screen. Skill or chance. Underdog Fantasy CEO Jeremy Levine stated in a letter released Wednesday that to be viewed as fantasy sports contests under the law, games need 3 things: to be based on skill, to use predictions on 2 or more athletes from different teams, to have outcomes based upon those athletes, accumulated statistics in a real-world contest. Levine is adamant his company's offerings are legal as fantasy sports. Legal opinions vary. Edelman, meaning Mark Edelman, meaning the law expert and the professor, previously hired as a legal expert in the case against Prize Picks, has long believed pick'em-style contests against the house are a form of sports betting. He's written about the subject dating back to 2014, prior to Prize Picks' founding. Edelman believes pick'em-style offerings could lead to operators facing consequences not only from state regulators, but also from the federal level. I do think the Department of Justice is well within reason to come after the operators of these games and the payment processors who fund them as operators of illegal interstate sports gambling in violation of the Federal Wire Act. Go back to the top because we're going to get to it, and we see Prize Picks at the bottom. I want to talk. I want to bring it. Can we slow it down? There's a law firm. You can go research it. I'm just going to read this word for word. You take your view of it. You go find out what you feel about it. They got a class action that they're gathering people for, and you figure out whether you're one of those people. Prize Picks investigation, illegal gambling investigations. Prize Picks fantasy sports platform. Prize Picks over-under betting structure is nothing more than a sports book in the daily fantasy sports clothing. Prize Picks is based in Atlanta, GA, and has operations in 31 states, DC, and the majority of Canadian provinces. The sports gambling app does not function like other daily fantasy sports applications where users compile a team and compete against other players. Instead, it functions as a sports book where players make between 2 and 6 more or less bets on specific individuals and occurrences. For example, a player could place one bet on whether Miami Marlins starting pitcher Edward Cabrera will have more or less than 5.5 strikeouts, or whether Chicago Cubs pitcher Marcus Stroman will throw more or less than 93.5 pitches. Prize Picks advertises itself as a daily fantasy DFS sports platform that allows users to bet in a wide variety of sports leagues. The DFS classification has allowed Prize Picks to allegedly get around state and local regulations and misrepresent its business to users. Prize Picks investigation. Pfeiffer Wolf believes that the Prize Picks app, and this is their belief, it would have to be proved in a court of law, but I just read to you the article where the legal expert in one way or another sided with them, is and has been operating as an illegal sports book, and that any lost bet should be subject to a refund. Under Georgia law, where the company is based, gambling contracts are void, and money paid or property delivered upon a gambling consideration may be recovered from the winner or loser. You can go look them up, figure out whether you one of the people that should join that. But I'm just telling you the meat, the nuts and bolts of what we about to get into. Is Prize Picks legal in California? Best California DFS sites, January 24. If you look up the term sports betting apps in the Google Play Store or App Store, you'll see an app called Prize Picks near the top of the results. While Prize Picks isn't technically a sports betting site, it offers a sports gaming experience that should appeal to anyone looking for prop betting style action. While sports gamers in the Golden State still wait for California to legalize sports betting, DFS, daily fantasy sports sites, and apps such as Prize Picks offer a great legal alternative. As we'll discuss in the guide, Prize Picks operates as one of the several legal DFS operators available in California. Underdog, Boom Fantasy, Thrive Fantasy. We got the Club Shay Shay presented by, what do you see at that bottom? DraftKings. During the whole show, it's in the corner. He does a promo in the middle where he stops the show and you watch it. Thinking you watching some old ass celebrities when really you watching a commercial for gambling, in my view. Utter silence from the NAACP or the Urban League. Ain't nobody talking, but then when all the consequences come out, everybody gonna come out and act like they was talking about gambling when Tone Talk said it first again. We gonna have all these people that sold this and made their money, and y'all not gonna say nothing. We got a Gamblepocalypse, y'all. Back in 2015, DraftKings, FanDuel facing lawsuit for fraud, negligence, false advertising. This is back in 2015 again. Darren Rovell of ESPN.com reported on October 8th, a class action lawsuit was filed in federal court in Manhattan accusing DraftKings and FanDuel of negligence, fraud, and false advertising. Kentucky resident Adam Johnson filed the first case after it was revealed the two companies allowed employees to enter contests on the other sites for the cash prizes available. Johnson deposited $100 in DraftKings account. Can we deal with it? 310-388-3499 if you want to speak on this. And the main fish out there is black men. But in November of 2023, ESPN got involved. So they the network, and then they might get partially owned by the NFL equity stake. It's just up in the air right now. And then they got contracts with the NFL to show the games, and then they going to be the betting house too. And Stephen A is at the center of it, talking about some empowering black people by putting them on to talk about goddamn sports. Goddamn sports. Look in the back of this Molly lady, this Molly Karam. Look in the back of her. They got the logo. They got the screen up. On November 14th, ESPN Bet went live in 17 states across the U.S. ESPN Bet is available on Android and I believe Apple and the web. ESPN Bet launches new creative featuring Kendrick Perkins. They all getting in on it. Everybody gonna act confused later. Watch. Mark my words. Because this is gonna be an avalanche. If you thought mass incarceration was bad, oh, this gambling, it might dwarf like crap because it's so easy to do, and because you guys love sports so much. You idolize these sports figures. They got statues in front of stadiums. They don't do nothing but play basketball. What the hell that? What is that? I'm not saying that don't nobody like a little jumping and running, I guess, but like all these statues, and then the shoes, and then it's idolization straight out of to me late stage capitalism. How gambling affects African Americans. A 2011 study by Berry et al. Compared a nationally representative sample of 32,316 Black and white adults in the U.S. on measures of gambling behavior, problem gambling, mental health, and the co-occurrence of mental health disorders and gambling. It found Black respondents were more likely than white respondents to have exhibited problem gambling behaviors in the last year. Why do you think they got this on this show? They gave this man this commercial. They didn't give him this damn commercial for no reason. They know y'all gamble and y'all prone to it. All these people are just signing in now for, to me, exploitation. Look at this. I say, you ask me what you should do. I believe that you guys should boycott these shows until they get rid of the gambling. I don't think you will. I also think you should start winning yourself off sports. Do I think you could go cold turkey? No, I don't. I think it's part of the social fabric of America. They wove it in. But we in a new era. And especially if you got young children. I don't have no young son because they are very, very susceptible. It looked like a video game. I want to talk. Ain't nobody saying this. Watch Umar come out and tiptoe around it and then start saying it like how he be doing around the stuff that we talk about with wealth. Come on. What's wrong with him saying it? No, you got to say it now or you ain't saying it at all. Can't say it later. What's wrong with him saying it 10 years from now? You'll see your son will be 22. No, it ain't enough. No, boycotting isn't enough. But I'm just telling you what you got in your power. I'm telling you that your part of it is that you support. A lot of you guys don't even know that we prone to gambling like this. Higher proportion of Black problem gamblers compared with white gamblers were women, 49% versus 32%. Heightened rates of anxiety, mood, and substance use and personality disorders among both Black and white problem gamblers. However, Black respondents were more likely than white respondents to have a stronger relationship with subsyndromal gambling, mood disorders, and substance use disorders. And then we got Camron and Mace inking an 8-figure deal with Underdog Fantasy. Where they come from? What is this? You ain't wondered what is this? However, he wasn't too eager on accepting just any offer thrown his way. Y'all gonna have to offer something that I can't got, Camron declared. Now you don't know what I got. You could assume what I got. I'm not gonna be unreasonable, but you gotta be fair. And right now, for the time being, we gonna have fun. Now the time has come for business. Inc. 8-figure deal with Underdog Fantasy. So at the lowest, 8 figures. Oh, let's do it. Damn, how much money they gave him? 100,000. They gave him millions? They gave him millions of dollars. How many millions to push this? Why would they pay them millions of dollars to talk about sports? Now think about why would they give them millions of dollars to sell gambling? I don't think y'all want to hear it. Underdog is similar to Prize Picks. So Joe Budden doing Prize Picks, Gil's Arena's doing Underdog, Camron and Mace is doing Underdog, and then y'all ain't saying nothing. Gil's Arena recaps a wild weekend in the NBA as Gilbert Arenas and Gil sign up for Underdog Fantasy here. Promo code Get $100. Here you go, right here in the background. It's right on the logo, I believe, is right on Josiah's computer. But they got Pfeiffer Wolf, the same law firm, got another class action that they thinking against Underdog. Underdog Fantasy is a daily fantasy sports platform that allows users to place bets in a wide variety of sports leagues. This DFS classification has allowed Underdog Fantasy to allegedly get around state and local regulations and misrepresent its business to users. However, we do not believe that Underdog Fantasy pick'em functionality is legal in many states. Instead, Underdog Fantasy pick'em bets are more akin to, and you can read the rest. Pfeiffer Wolf believes the Underdog Fantasy is and has been operating as a legal sportsbook. We come back to everybody being confused later, how gambling affects African Americans, but you got Camron and Mace inking an 8-figure deal with Underdog Fantasy. You right, Sandy girl. I don't know what y'all doing, but y'all better figure this out. Somebody said 30 million. I don't know if that's accurate, but I mean, you think they paid these two men $30 million for talking about sports? All right, you believe what you want. Black Americans may face unique challenges and triggers related to problem gambling. In a study of 32,316 Black and white adults in the U.S., it was found 49% of Black women studied demonstrated problem gambling habits compared to 34% of white women. This is the study I showed you earlier. Black Americans are twice as likely to experience problem gambling compared to white Americans. On average, white Americans gamble more often than Black Americans. About 71% of white Americans reported gambling in the last year, compared to 68.6%, and it's not that far off, of Black Americans, except we don't have no wealth. Substance abuse, poverty, and neighborhood disadvantage can play a role in problem gambling habits. In New Jersey, approximately 16% of Black Americans live in poverty compared to 9% of the total state population. This is 1888 Gambling, which is like supposed to be a gambling help center. If you notice, on a lot of these commercials, they have to put at the bottom how to get help. The king of sports books. They run them commercials back to back to back to back, making you remember In Living Color, making you remember Ray. They run them back to back to back, making you remember his first husband's stuff and Think Like a Man. They are aiming at you, my viewer. But I want to talk about a lot of things today, you know, because I believe that this is bigger than just gambling. I believe that there is a web of exploitation that has been set out for Black America, unlike anything we've seen in generations. I believe that it's being set out for the poor, but it will affect Black America like wildfire. From your children driving Uber and you say nothing, like they got a real job, or they were dropping off Amazon packages, to layaway, Klarna, where you try to tell yourself that's good interest rates, but the moment you miss payments, they charge you obscene rates because you don't have no savings and no inheritance. You don't really know that you need to fix your spending. To the gambling, ESPN Bet, Prize Picks, DraftKings. I know this is a hard show. We talking today. A lot of people do this stuff. That's why they don't want to talk about it. Y'all here doing this Klarna, trying to buy a set of Jordans. You buying Jordans with Klarna without reading the details? How many people saw this on Twitter, this week? In the chat, how many of y'all saw this on the Twitter this week? Tweet. A Rent-A-Center is renting out Jordans for $19.99 a week. These Air Jordan 5 Racer Blues sell for about $300 on secondary sneaker sites. The offer is $375 to buy. After passing $375 in rental, there's an offer to then buy the shoes for $525. And understand though, hold on. If you rent them for 53 payments, it's $1,000. You done paid $1,000. More than $1,000, actually. Racer blue 9.5 Jordans. There's an insanity setting in. You're right, Michael. And I'm trying to actually frame it so you can start dealing with it and start addressing it in yourself and your family so it don't address you later on. I need you to talk about this today. Give me your opinion on this in the chat. A lot of people seen this. They seen this craziness. But I don't think we fully understand how crazy it is that we still think that this man is a great person or some success. He sell rent to own, and then he had the anklets. You remember, for the people getting out, he got caught with that. So rent to own, the anklets. He was an early investor in Uber. So basically everything that's like exploitation of like people that's ADOS and or struggling, don't have an inheritance, is basically a attack on those that are shut out. Rent to own startup Landis raises $40 million from Jay-Z and Google. And y'all sharing Beyonce and Jay-Z pictures. And Beyonce was invested early in Uber as well. What's wrong with investing in Uber? Everything. And I'm not going to explain what everything means to you. You just figure that shit out later. I went on StockX to kind of show the prices because I think it's better than what he even said, or worse, you could say. The prices are better. You can buy these same shoes for between $230 and $265, and they are charging $500 to $1,000 at this rent to own. This price point isn't even in the realm of the free market and exploits people not financially aware enough to look beyond payments. It should be banned. So you can get the Racer Blue Air Jordan 5s for $265. You can get the kids ones for $174 on Go. $265 on StockX. Let's go back to what they charge you. $1,000 if you make 53 $19.99 payments. $375. But it was $629. And again, this is tied to the decadent and veil and idol worship of Michael Jordan. Nobody is seeing it that way. This is idol worship as an expression of your aspiration. But it's even more illogical than that, at least to me. So there's these videos on YouTube where you can go to the Nike outlet and get these deals. There's several guys that do it, 2, 3, 4. One of the main ones is Cool Kicks. It's an Asian guy. KU space Kicks. Heads up, you can get nice shoes at Nike outlet. I put this under that initial tweet about the Jordans and the layaway. You can get nice shoes at the Nike outlet for $40 to $50. See, back in the day, under that price point, you had to get the Payless, or you had to get the Filas at Costco. I was at Costco today and seen the Filas for $27. This Nike outlet wants to hide this insane pricing. This Jordan rent to own makes no sense. It didn't even make sense without the outlet. But with the outlet, it just shows maybe all you understand is being exploited. Person that does that, rent to own. Even if you love Jordan shoes for some reason, you can go to the outlet. Go watch the videos for yourself. It's funny enough, I got a personal story. Y'all want to hear it in the chat? I went down to the East LA Nike outlet last week and a half ago. When I go in the outlet, guess who's there? Looking at shoes. Cool Kicks. I end up stopping and talking to Cool Kicks for 45 minutes about the insanity around shoe buying. I talked to him about the outlet. I talked to him about how people are stuck in nostalgia. We talked about a lot of things. But another thing that we talked about is how ignorant this is for another reason. Because what Cool Kick said to me, because I sent this to him, is that ain't nothing but a GR Nike Jordan. In the chat, how many people know what a GR Nike Jordan is? It means that this is a general release Jordan. It ain't even that hot exclusive. So you paying all that for something that's regular? I don't think nothing's wrong with regular, but this ain't regular pricing. But I'm going to give you how it go, how we move. So these are two shoes that I got that day from the Nike outlet to give you guys a reality, because you'll be like, I don't believe we going to get real today. So this Nike Air Max was original 150 and then 112. How much y'all think I paid for it? I'm going to zoom out. How much y'all think I paid for this Nike Air Max 1SC in the chat before I show you? Come on. 19. How much you think I paid? Did I pay 75? Did I pay 93? Somebody said 45. Somebody said 75. Another person said 50. So we go back that this person for this Jordan is paying $19.99 a week. 135. Somebody said 135. Okay. I'm at the outlet though. Marcus said, let me show you what I paid. So for the Nike Air Max SC, I paid $26.77 for this shoe. I changed my laces. I paid $26.77. Basically the same amount as one of those payments. That's the receipt. That's the real receipt. I'm not here to play. All right, let's do it again. Because maybe it's just that shoe. I need you to understand how crazy that is, that rent to own is, so you can understand what era we're in. We're not even in a standout side. The shoe market is collapsed, and you're paying prime prices from $19.99. How many people can see this shoe? I bought this shoe the same day. How much you think I paid for this shoe? This is an even nicer shoe. It was $150 initially. It's $115 on sale. How much you think I paid for this shoe right here? This Nike Air Max Pulse. Somebody said 50 because those are black. I like that. Invest. 50. Okay. It might be a little more than that. Oh, now they coming low because of the first one that I said. Now we going real low, 60. Now we going real low, but we ain't going to be honest about that big old 270 air bubble on the back of that shoe. Okay. We ain't going to be honest about that air bubble and how when you go down to finish line, everything with the air bubble is 150, 175. I've been down there. I went down to the Nike store in at the Grove. Everything with this air bubble was 150. EA said he's still at 75. Chest out. Let me show you what I paid. I paid $44.63 for this shoe. $44.63. And the reason I'm showing you this is not to show off shoes. It's to show a specific kind of desire that's being baked into, I believe, general American poor and general working class Americans, but particularly ADOS, as we remove usury laws that protect against Klarna. I'll talk about that in a second. As we remove the protections against gambling, like we see with the Supreme Court, as Obama ushers in gig jobs and you think you got a business, you wish that you can get exploited. You don't just get exploited, you dream for it. So when I show you this shoe $44, you think, damn, I don't want no $44 shoe. I want to pay $1,000 to rent to own. Make me feel good. There is a certain kind of exploitation being baked in like chocolate chips in a cookie into this race. And I wanted to do this show because ain't no way in the world you should be watching no show with Prize Picks at the bottom. And ain't no way in the world you should watch nothing with all this gambling, nor the Uber support, nor the Klarna support, and the Grubhub. I want to talk We got a Gamblepocalypse going on. So what are you talking about with usury? Somebody came under the usury is just when you get to this level of exploitation. This $19.99 per week, 53 payments, $1,049. The same as cash price used to be $629. Now they came to $375. But they know everybody coming for that $19.99, and then they're not gonna make payments, and then they're gonna get hit with that. But this is the shoe. But what the reason your grandmama didn't get hit with this is because there used to be protections before Carter. You couldn't do the Klarna stuff. There used to be protections against usury. Usury was illegal in the United States until President Jimmy Carter, Secretary of Treasury, Blumenthal subverted age-old American usury laws and pushed the Monetary Control Act of 1980, a predacious bill that has been used to prey on the poor and ADOS ever since it was passed. So your mama, who was a Gen Xer, some of y'all younger, grew up in an era where she could get exploited and pass that along to you, and you are a master of it being exploited. To the point where you don't even know that Amazon taking advantage of you to drop off packages in your own car. To the point where you don't even know that you don't have no dental coverage, and dental coverage is the main part of why you should get what you should get at work. You should unionize if you don't get it. A Democratic Congress and Democratic president enacted the Monetary Control Act of 1980, which removed all remaining controls on interest rates and repealed the federal law prohibiting usury. Note that sky-high interest rate and ruinous predatory lending have been with us ever since. It was the 1980 legislation that took the lid off banking and doomed the savings and loan industry. The mainstay that used to provide housing, loans, and home mortgages, the thrifts were able to raise capital because they were allowed to pay 0.5% more in interest to depositors. Blumenthal left in 1979, but the bill was his. That is the hidden language behind what happened. If you read biographies about Carter's administration, President Carter never let Blumenthal into the inner circle because he was he had a bad taste in his mouth about the bill. Remember, Carter was a poor peanut farmer and the only American president to live on welfare as an adult. So he understood the hidden language of usury because he grew up close to sharecropping. We are in the first phases of that with the gambling. So you have a child, you will leave them no inheritance, you have no savings, you done sucked all the fun times. 0 to 18 is the fun times. You go to the basketball game and all that. You don't have no savings for their college. You didn't do no 529 plan, nothing else. There's no inheritance. You don't have no life insurance in case you pass on. And now you have left them a body of politics that has gig jobs, that has gambling, and that has Klarna. What do you think happens next? So you don't have to pick it, you don't have to boycott, but you better figure out something because you got a lot of pain in your other room playing video games right now. And part of the reason I'm giving you this show is I believe at least what you can do is not watch this and not support these people. That's up to you to do or not to do. No legal advice getting given. But what I am saying is be aware, and I'm giving you the tools of what to read and watch to get more aware. I know this was a heavy show, but it was a necessary one. This is Tone Talks. Please go to tonetalks.net, subscribe, donate, and share, because we having a discussion that people are going to come back to 10 years later and act like it's the first time it's being had. Thank you.